This is hot garbage. The Star Wars Battlefront collection just released across multiple platforms, and somehow they took a simple port and fumbled it worse than whatever they did to that remastered GTA trilogy. And it's amazing that Star Wars had such a disaster that wasn't the fault of EA or Disney. But here we are. But before I go into tearing this flaming pile of shit to the ground, I want to preface this rant by saying the original games are good. Actually, they're better than good. They're great. They both have terrific story modes, a wide variety of maps for multiplayer, and a solid roster of characters that really set it apart from any other game from the early 2000s. Back then, this was pretty much a 10 out of 10 game. I have very fond memories of going over to my friend's house every day after school and spending hours just playing split screen together. This game holds very treasured memories for me, so that's why it kinda hurt to see what they had done to it. My girlfriend hates it though. Thank you for partaking in that experiment with me. I appreciate it.
Terrible.
It was terrible. But let's go over the facts of this new collection. Firstly, the game released to a crowd of players who were all expecting to hop on the game and participate in massive 64-player battles. 64 players was right though, because that's how many people were able to play on the server total. Star Wars Battlefront 2 had a grand total of 3 working servers for the flood of people to come in and try to join. And Battlefront 1 had 0. That's since been fixed, but you're gonna leave a bad first impression if you're not ready for your own release, which led to a swift review bomb, and I don't know if the rating will ever recover from that. The second point I want to make is the price. This game released at $35. Not a terrible price for 2 games, I'd say, considering most game releases nowadays are $60 to $70. But let's do some quick math, shall we? The original 2004 and 2005 versions of these games are still available to be purchased and played on Steam, both of these costing $10 each. So you could buy both of these together for nearly half the price it cost you for this collection. So are we to assume that the 2 new characters and the ability to play the hero mode on more levels is worth the additional $15? That's completely up to you, but the answer for me is no. Easily no. And not only can you buy the 2 older games for cheaper than the collection, but due to Steam's spring sale that started the exact same day the collection released, you can get the 2 older games and the 2 newer games all together for still less than this new collection. After seeing that, $35 feels like I'm being robbed. And all of this comes before I've even tried the game myself. So let's hop on and give it a whirl, shall we? The first thing I see is that you can register your game. This was something popular back in the early days of PC gaming. You could register your disc games to your online accounts to prove authenticity. Nowadays, all of our games are already linked to the accounts we purchased them with, so why is it still here? Hi, I'd like to register my game, please. Oh, well, you just bought the game, so it's registered to your account. Okay, but I'd like to register my game, please. No, sir, you don't understand. You've bought it. It is already registered to the account you bought it with. Yeah, but I'd like to register it, please. I want to register my game. Sir, you've already bought the game with the account. It's registered to that account. I want to register the game. Sir, we're not Ubisoft. When you buy a game, it's yours. I want to register my game. But I tried Battlefront 2 first, since that's the one I know better, and wanted to try out the online multiplayer to see if it's improved since the initial release. It hasn't. I tried quick play and it couldn't find a match to put me in, so I decided to make my own server in hopes that others would join. I played through the entire match, and by the end, it was still just me, all alone. So I played another one, and by the end, I was still all alone. It was crazy to think that on release day, I couldn't find a single match. So I headed over to Battlefront 1, where there was a ton of servers there. And it turns out, the reason why I wasn't finding any is because you need to bring up the server list first, and then hit the refresh button to get any of them to appear. Where are my matches? Refresh. Oh, there they are. Here we go. So that's kind of already frustrating. But how was the gameplay? Well, the game itself probably plays a bit different on PC because of mouse and keyboard controls, but what I noticed on console is that the movement and aiming is awful. On Battlefront 2, you can turn the sensitivity all the way up and still take half a match to do an entire 360. And on Battlefront 1, the sensitivity is so high, it makes it tough to aim at anything. Not to mention, it feels like there's acceleration on that makes the aiming faster the more you spin, making pinpoint accuracy really tough. Honestly, it feels like this half the time. The camera also doesn't like to be nice, mostly in spectating and respawn screens, and the connection I had to most servers was incredibly laggy. The sound and music was also really quiet most of the time. That is until you get hit with one random loud sound effect. Is it just shoot at this? Oh my, what was that? But if you can somehow look past all of that, you're probably gonna get two different experiences from playing these games. And that fully depends on whether you're playing with AI or against other players. The AI I noticed is a flip-flop. My first match had the enemy AI demolishing my team, while my own teammates were essentially walking off a cliff. And the AI has absolutely no remorse with spawn killing you. And in other times, the AI stands there and you slash them all to shreds like you're Anakin Skywalker at the end of episode 3.
Master Skywalker, there are too many of them. What are we going to do?
While actual players will absolutely dominate you. More often than not, every game I played was over in 3 minutes or less because one side was severely better than the other side. My reinforcements were going down so fast, you think it was the timer for my microwave burrito. But if for some reason you still want to get this version of the game, it's probably because you want to try the new features. Well, let me tell you, there is a reason why most of the levels were not made for the Hero Hunt game mode, considering a lot of them are just so big and open. But what about the characters? Well, Kit Fisto looks like a punk and is completely dead in the eyes. It's pretty much an insult to the character, at least that's what I thought until I saw what they did to Ventress. Through my first hour of playing, I thought this was a whole dude. And I didn't realize at first that her lightsabers were like nunchucks, and that's why she's holding one of them under her arm like that, which just doesn't feel comfortable at all. And then I gotta ask, what did they do to her face? It looks like a cross between Disney's version of the Grand Inquisitor and that dude from Dune 2. This is not the Ventress we know from the Clone Wars. So obviously, looking at this sad excuse for a cash grab, there is a lot wrong with it. It's genuinely harmless if you play the story mode or local single player and split screen, but what made this such a disappointment was the insinuations that come with a re-release. We expected better graphics, and we're still hit with the same 144p cutscenes. We were hoping for massive online battles and got laggy messes that are over in a blink. And we were hoping for a reasonable price and got conned into paying more. What always made these games fun was reliving the original Star Wars adventures while also creating your own. Who doesn't chuckle at 3 Darth Mauls all gaining up together to take on Yoda? But to make something like this worth it, real changes need to be made. Update the graphics, give it better controls, and for the love of God, add higher score thresholds so the games can last longer than the ads that played before this video. The only argument I can see for buying this is if you're playing on PlayStation or Switch, so you can experience these games on a platform you haven't before, but if you're looking to get this on PC, just get the older versions instead. It's the same game for a cheaper price and potentially a better gaming experience. But this one was definitely not like the simulations. Also, the game is larger than a third world country. Leave a like and subscribe.